The story takes place in a world where mysterious tombs suddenly begin appearing all over the globe. Hidden inside these tombs are ancient relics capable of granting their owners powers far beyond those of ordinary humans. However, obtaining these relics is anything but easy, as every tomb is filled with deadly traps and terrifying monsters. Our main character is one of the finest relic hunters, someone who specializes in exploring these tombs. But the very team for whom he risks his life betrays him out of greed, abandoning him to die. At that moment, he believes everything is over. However, something happens that he could never have imagined. He is given a second chance to change his life. Now he possesses complete knowledge of the future. He knows when each tomb will appear, what powers each relic contains, and which people will eventually become the world's strongest relic hunters. But will he be able to take revenge on those who betrayed him? And can he claim the world's most powerful relic for himself? The episode opens with the sight of a terrifying tomb. The place is eerily silent, and scattered nearby are countless dead bodies, making it obvious that a brutal battle has taken place. However, the monster inside the tomb was far stronger than everyone who challenged it, which is why all of them lost their lives. As the scene moves forward, we see one man still standing alive. He is the main character of our series, Jooheon. Suddenly, a gigantic python crawling toward him launches an unexpected attack. Seeing this, Jooheon immediately begins running away, but the python refuses to let him escape. Jooheon leaps high into the air and swings his sword straight at the monster. However, the python blocks the attack effortlessly with its fangs. Even after seeing this, Jooheon refuses to give up. He pushes harder, trying to force the blade through the monster's defense. But no matter how much strength he uses, he cannot even leave a scratch on its body. Realizing his attacks are useless, he starts running again, with the python chasing closely behind him. Using a nearby wall for momentum, Jooheon jumps high into the air once more. It looks as though the two are about to collide head-on, but the python senses that something is unusual about his sword. Using its tail, it knocks Jooheon away before he can strike. The impact leaves Jooheon in even worse condition. However, the ordeal is far from over. He is sent flying straight into a wall, and taking advantage of the opportunity, the python attacks him again. Somehow, Jooheon barely manages to survive. Immediately afterward, he activates his suit relic and unleashes an aura-infused attack. The relic pierces directly into the python's forehead. Even then, Jooheon doesn't stop. He pours every last bit of his energy into the relic. Unfortunately, the overwhelming power causes the relic itself to shatter, sending him flying backward. The moment the python sees this, it frees itself and bites into Jooheon's legs. Even then, Jooheon refuses to surrender. Using the broken remains of his sword, he repeatedly stabs the python in the eyes without stopping. Meanwhile, the python manages to swallow both of Jooheon's legs into its mouth, leaving him on the verge of losing consciousness. But the python doesn't even give him the chance to pass out. It immediately slams him violently into the ground, and then slowly begins devouring him. As Jooheon writhes in agony, he shouts, "Damn it! To hell with this cursed monster! How dare you treat me like this? Kwon-tae, I swear I'll kill you." The scene then shifts to a flashback where Kwon-tae, his boss, tells him, "This mission must succeed. If you complete it, I'll give you a reward worthy of your efforts." The story then shifts back to the present, where we once again see countless dead bodies scattered across the area. Meanwhile, Jooheon is somehow still alive. Despite his critical condition, he desperately struggles to reach his broken sword. Because he has lost so much blood, his body is barely holding on. Even so, after putting every ounce of strength into it, he finally manages to grab his sword. But the true nightmare has only just begun. The python slowly opens its massive mouth, as if warning him that his entire body is about to become its next meal. Realizing the hopelessness of the situation, Jooheon mutters to himself, "So, this is how I'm going to die. Like a coward." The very next moment, the python charges straight at him. Suddenly, everything goes dark. In the middle of that darkness, we hear Jooheon's voice. "My name is Jooheon. I'm 38 years old, and I think today is the day I'm going to die." After the darkness fades, the scene returns to the light. To our surprise, Jooheon is still alive. At the same time, it seems as though time itself has completely stopped. Seeing this, Jooheon is utterly shocked and says, "What on earth is going on here?" As he wonders about the situation, he suddenly hears an unfamiliar voice saying, "Good grief, what a pathetic man. By
By the way, can you hear my voice? After hearing the mysterious voice, Jooheon replies, I can always hear the voices of unusual beings, but I don't know what kind of divine object you are. If you're nearby, then get this snake off me and help me get out of here. Hearing his request, the voice laughs before saying, do you really think you can survive like this? As soon as Jooheon hears those words, he looks down and realizes that both of his legs have been severed in half. The sight terrifies him. The voice continues, your body has practically been split into two. Don't you feel even the slightest pain from such terrible wounds? Even if I removed the snake, you still wouldn't be able to walk. What are you planning to do? Crawl your way out? You were simply lucky to survive this long. But how much longer do you think you'll stay alive? Your end is going to be a miserable one. Despite your extraordinary talent, you were born in the wrong era and suffered because of it. Now, you'll die before you can ever make full use of your abilities. After listening to those words, Jooheon replies angrily, you don't know anything about me, yet you're standing there talking nonsense. I don't want to die like this. Absolutely not. No matter what happens, Kwante, I'll kill you somehow. I swear I'll make you pay. Hearing his determination, the mysterious voice says, you're quite an interesting person. It would truly be a waste for someone with your talent to disappear like this. As soon as the voice finishes speaking, its owner finally appears before him. The moment Jooheon sees it, he is completely stunned. He can't believe that the voice belongs to a crow. The crow then says, I'll give you one chance. Let's see whether you can truly claim the king's throne this time. With those words, it launches a healing beam at him. The beam lands directly on his body, causing time within his body to reverse. His legs are completely restored, although the process puts him through unbearable pain. The scene then shifted to another location, where Jooheon was deep in thought. If it had been a king offering help, I could have understood that. But a crow? At first glance, it looked like a hero-class relic, but could it actually be a god-class relic? Wait a second, where am I? My legs are back. But putting that aside, how am I still alive? After thinking everything through, he looked around and realized that he was inside a police station. The police officers watching his strange behavior couldn't help but think, what suddenly happened to him? He's acting really strange, and he's becoming quite a nuisance. At this point, many of you are probably feeling confused. You're probably wondering what exactly Jooheon is doing here. Well, you'll find out the answer in just a moment. As for this mother and son, you must also be wondering why they're here. The reason is that Jooheon supposedly beat up the woman's son very badly. However, whether that's actually true or not is something we'll learn later in the story. Meanwhile, after watching Jooheon's bizarre behavior, the elderly woman says to the officer, just look at him. Doesn't he seem incredibly strange? You should question him properly. Hearing that, the police officer says to Jooheon, hey, we're trying to question you here. I've been asking for your name. Why won't you just tell me? However, Jooheon remains completely silent. Seeing that he refuses to answer, the officer says in frustration, come on, we're not sitting here with nothing else to do. Meanwhile, Jooheon sat quietly in his chair thinking to himself, could this really be the crow's doing? Is this just a dream or some kind of illusion? But everything feels so real. I remember every single detail clearly. The officer, who had already questioned him several times, was completely fed up. Finally, he said, are you seriously not even going to tell me your name? Just tell me already. I'm really starting to lose my patience. Hearing this, the man sitting beside them commented, starting the new year like this? We've really gotten ourselves into a mess, haven't we? Well, what an incredible way to begin 2025. The moment Jooheon heard the year, he was completely shocked. Looking at the date and time in front of him, he thought, 2025? What does that mean? Was I reincarnated? No. If this is really 2025, then this is 15 years in the past. Does that mean I've traveled back in time? Seriously? At that moment, he suddenly remembered what the crow had told him. I'll give you one chance. Let's see whether you can truly claim the king's throne this time. After recalling those words, Jooheon finally became convinced that he had really traveled 15 years into the past. Just as he was beginning to smile in excitement, the woman sitting across from him suddenly shouted, hey, you haven't answered a single one of the officer's questions. You're just sitting there mumbling to yourself and smiling. Do you even realize the situation you're in? Looking at the woman, Jooheon thought to himself, come to think of it, I feel like I've seen this woman before. His eyes then shifted toward the young man standing beside her, who was looking at him with a smug smile. The moment he saw him, Jooheon's memories came flooding back. That's right,
This guy was the one who started the fight. I only pushed him, but he acted as if he had been waiting for the chance and deliberately threw himself to the ground. The woman immediately shouted again, "You assaulted my son, didn't you? He's only a high school senior. Don't waste my time with your excuses. What if the shock leaves him traumatized?" Hearing her accusations, Jooheon tried to remember how this incident had been resolved in his previous life. That's right. They demanded an enormous settlement from me. I tried to negotiate the amount down. I even got on my knees and begged for forgiveness, but back then, I didn't even have any money. Seeing him lost in thought again, the woman angrily yelled, "What a strange man. When someone is talking to you, you should at least have the decency to listen." She raised her hand about to slap him, but before she could, Jooheon instantly caught her wrist. The officer and the woman's son were both stunned by how fast he had moved. Even Jooheon himself couldn't understand how he had managed to react so quickly. However, he didn't dwell on it for long. Instead, he glared at the woman and said angrily, "That's enough, ma'am. Your son was the one who started the fight. And don't you think you're demanding far too much money for a settlement? People always say that the rich abuse their power, and you're proving them right." Seeing him raise his voice at his mother, the young man rushed forward and shouted, "You bastard! So you finally found your voice." With that, he charged straight at Jooheon. Seeing him coming, Jooheon instinctively used an arm throw and slammed him onto the floor in a single move. The officer and the boy's mother stood there in complete shock, their eyes wide open. Jooheon himself was equally surprised.
I knew my body felt lighter than before. Is it because I haven't developed relic syndrome yet? Could it be that all the combat skills I learned over the last 15 years are still with me? If that's true, then I've seriously hit the jackpot. The young man lying on the floor slowly got back on his feet and angrily said, "You've really crossed the line this time." Hearing that, Jooheon finally came back to his senses and let him go. As soon as he released him, the boy's mother rushed over and cried out, "Are you all right, my poor son? Did you get hurt?" A little while later, because of Jooheon's actions, the police officers locked him inside a holding cell. Meanwhile, the woman continued yelling at the officers, "Do you honestly think this is the right thing to do? Why don't you call all of my friends right now and ask them? Why isn't anyone saying anything? I'll drag him into court, and don't forget, he attacked my son." Listening to her endless complaints, Jooheon thought to himself, whatever she's saying doesn't matter anymore. Once the relics appear, this world will become a lawless wasteland. The ancient legends turned out to be true. Those who obtained relics were granted all kinds of supernatural powers. Before long, everyone began searching for relics. The first relic I found belonged to an archaeologist, and it earned me a fortune. I believed that by gathering information about the tombs and their relics, I could finally escape my miserable life and start over. But reality turned out to be completely different. The scene then shifts to another location. A man argues with one of the guards, saying, "What do you mean we can't enter the tomb?" The guard calmly replies, "Only TKBM has special permission to excavate this tomb, so please leave the area." Hearing that, the man points his relic at the guard and says, "Don't be ridiculous. Get out of my way." In response, the guard activates his own small relic and effortlessly slices the other man's relic clean in half. The man stares at the broken relic in complete disbelief. At that moment, another guard points a gun directly at him and warns, "If you continue to resist, we'll open fire." Hearing the warning, the group immediately retreats without another word. As the scene plays out, Jooheon's narration continues. That was how everything began. Starting with Chairman Kwon of TKBM. Everyone who possessed relics made sure that no one else could excavate them. My talent for discovering relics was recognized. TKBM recruited me, and under Chairman Kwon's orders, I carried out every kind of dirty job imaginable. Counterfeiting, theft, espionage, and even stealing treasures from tombs. I even infiltrated tombs that the government had strictly forbidden anyone from entering, stealing priceless ancient relics from them. As a result, Chairman Kwon accumulated an unimaginable amount of wealth. Then the scene shifts to another location, where two men are talking to each other. What a disgusting and sick-minded person. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just then, they notice Jooheon. As soon as they see him, they start mocking him. Look, it's that bastard who survives by licking the chairman's boots.
The other man adds, "You can't do anything without the chairman, can you? So don't act so arrogant." At that moment, we hear Jooheon's voice in the background. "So, that's how all of you saw me. I chose to become Kwon Taeon's dog, and I endured every insult thrown at me." As he thinks about it, the scene flashes back to one of his memories. One of his teammates shouts, Captain, it's a trap. This is all a trap they set up for us. Remembering everything, Jooheon thinks to himself, soon, relics will start appearing, and the entire world will descend into chaos. It's good that I've become stronger, but strength alone isn't enough. I need to gather money as quickly as possible so I can begin excavating tombs. Suddenly, a floating screen appears right in front of him. Tomb Raider, so Jooheon. Seeing it, Jooheon is completely confused. What the hell is this? Why is text floating in the air? Damn it, I must be starting to see weird things. As soon as he says that, another line of text appears. A pitiful pickpocket who doesn't even know how to use his own abilities. After reading it, Jooheon's mind is blown. Only an ancient relic could do something this bizarre. Hey Crow, come out already. Are you secretly watching me? At that very moment, another screen pops up in front of him. Looking at it, he mutters, a status window? Is this some kind of prank? Damn Crow, my life isn't some video game. Then the system begins displaying another message. After reading it, he says, so, I have 4 talents that can be activated. First there was floating text, and now a quest? However, because he is making so much noise, a police officer walks over and scolds him. Hey, what's wrong with you? Keep your voice down. After saying that, the officer walks away. Once he's gone, Jooheon thinks to himself, so, am I the only one who can actually see this? Then, something suddenly comes back to him. He carefully looks at the cockroach lying on the floor and says, I can clearly see everything within a 1-meter radius. I gained this ability from the archaeologist relic, but I don't have that relic anymore. So, do I still have its ability? It looks like this ability will be displayed in the status window from now on. Wait a second. If it says 1/4, then that means I still have 3 more abilities left. And now I even have some initial capital. But what exactly is that crow trying to do? After all, relics have never wished for the happiness of humans. While he was lost in thought, someone walked up to him and greeted him. Hello, Seo Jooheon. A little later, the scene changes as the man escorts Jooheon outside. He says, your luck has always been terrible, hasn't it? That high school student has pulled stunts like this many times before. He's the one who should be in jail, not you. Anyway, don't worry. I'll take care of everything. Hearing those words, Jooheon thanked him sincerely. Mr. Gyeonwoo looked at him in surprise and asked, did you hit your head or something? You just thanked me as if nothing had happened. What's going on? You're acting like a completely normal person. I guess that holding cell must have been pretty frightening for you. Looking at him, Jooheon thought to himself, Detective Gyeonwoo, back when I had no one, he was the one who always looked after me. 15 years ago, he really did look much younger. The two of them began walking together. As they walked, Jooheon suddenly asked, Mr. Gyeonwoo, has anything strange happened recently? Has anyone appeared who has the shadow of a monster following them, or someone with psychic powers? Hearing such a strange question, Gyeonwoo replied, what are you talking about? Are you really okay? If you're asking about things like that, you should probably ask a psychic. Then he joked, although maybe my wife really is a psychic. Somehow she always manages to find the money I hide. After hearing that, Jooheon thought, so, relic users still don't exist yet. Gyeonwoo then stopped and said, you should head home and get some rest. You look exhausted. Jooheon said goodbye and left. The scene then shifts to the road as Jooheon thinks to himself, at this point in time, tombs have already started appearing, but there still aren't any relic users. That makes this the perfect opportunity. The only problem is money. The earliest relics mostly appeared in Europe and America. Considering that, I need to arrange enough money for a flight as soon as possible. Just as he turned into an alley, a group of thugs walked up to him and shouted, Hey, Seo Jooheon, why are you wandering around instead of working? The moment Jooheon saw them, an evil grin spread across his face as he thought, I've just found my source of income. Park Kang-tae used to be a gangster, but now he's an art broker. He's also the local thug who runs a small art gallery with his older sister, Park Kang-ju. Back when I was in high school, I desperately needed money, so I started working here part-time. I had to endure a miserable salary, constant beatings, and was forced to behave like a loyal dog. Seeing that Jooheon wasn't saying anything, one of the men grabbed him by the temple and said, Why aren't you saying anything? Do I have to punch you in the face before you understand? Hey, stop staring at us like that, you bastard. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand to slap Jooheon. But before he could, Jooheon slapped him across the face with even greater force, sending him flying backward. Everyone standing there was left completely stunned. Meanwhile, Jooheon calmly said, That's enough. Go back and tell your boss that I'm quitting my job starting today, and make sure he pays me all of my remaining salary and service pay immediately." Hearing that, everyone burst into laughter. Park Kang-tae sneered. "Fine, let's finish him off right now." He rushed straight at Jooheon at full speed. However, Jooheon attacked first, launching Park Kang-tae into the air. He didn't stop there. He immediately followed up with a powerful kick, putting him in his place. Then he grabbed him by the head and drove another kick straight into his face, forcing him down onto his knees. Seeing their boss in such terrible condition, all of his men were completely shocked. What the hell happened to this guy? Wasn't he supposed to be completely hopeless in a fight? Even so, they gathered their courage and charged toward Jooheon together. Watching them rush at him, Jooheon calmly got into position. In the next moment, an intense fight broke out between them. Jooheon overwhelmed them one by one, knocking every single one of them to the ground. By the end of the fight, they hadn't even managed to lay a finger on him. The few who were still conscious stared at him in disbelief and asked, "How did this guy become so strong?" Hearing that, Jooheon thought to himself, "So you're wondering what's going on? These are the skills I've trained for over the last 15 years, but I still haven't fully regained my former strength, so I need to finish my training as soon as possible." He then shouted at them, "Is that all you've got?" Meanwhile, Park Kang-tae slowly got back on his feet. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a dagger and said, "I almost forgot. I still have this." Seeing his boss draw such a dangerous weapon, one of the thugs nervously said, "Boss, please don't use the blade. If you seriously injure him, it'll become a huge problem." Instead of listening, Park Kang-tae started cursing at his own subordinate. On the other hand, the moment Jooheon saw the blade, he thought to himself, "That dagger, it's a relic. But how did he get his hands on something like that? Well, I guess it's not impossible. Sometimes, relics secretly find their way into the human world without ever coming from a tomb." While Jooheon was lost in thought, Park Kang-tae rushed toward him, shouting, "How dare you act so arrogant? Die, you bastard." Watching him charge forward, Jooheon smirked and said, "Well, this relic belongs to me now." And with that, episode 1 comes to an end. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video to show your support. And if you want more regular videos, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you again soon in the next video. Until then, take care.